Recovery is stupendous.
Achievable.
Hope.
Freedom.
Empowering.
It's unique to everyone.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Getting a new lease on life.
It's finding restoration after you fall down.
Recovery is having the freedom to enjoy life.
For me, it was finding a way to really love myself.
My recovery is possible in part because of my own sense of purpose.
Welcome to Montana's Peer Network Recovery Talks podcast. I'm Jim Haney, and I want to welcome you to another episode. We're covering the 10 guiding principles of recovery, and today we're talking about relational as one of the principles, and I'm here, as usual, with my two guests. Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Ashley McLean. I'm the Recovery Coach Supervisor at Montana's Peer Network.
And I'm Bill Devil, Recovery Coach at Montana's Peer Network.
Thanks again for doing this as we work our way through the 10 guiding principles. This one, we actually got the handout out and kind of read through it because it's like really similar to like
Peers and allies.
Some of the other ones. Yeah. And so we wanted to make sure we were sort of separating. So I'm going to read a couple things. So relational, supportive relationships lead to a greater sense of belonging, personhood, empowerment, autonomy, social inclusion, and community participation. There's a good quote in here. Bill, did you add this quote into the Abraham Lincoln?
So Abraham Lincoln said, "The best way to predict your future is to create it."
That's a good one.
It definitely is.
Now, did somebody share that with you? Is that how you... Because Bill created this brochure we're looking at, so...
No, I think I just got on and started looking on the internet and things for quotes that would fit into this particular brochure, and I thought that one fit in nicely.
Yeah. And Abraham Lincoln, I mean, he had a mental health diagnosis.
He did. Depression.
Yeah. Melancholia, they called it back then. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about relational. So relationships with people, you have this other quote on here. He said, "Surround yourself with positive people who will support you during your bad days, not just your good days." How true that is.
So true. So true. I mean, prior to recovery for me, it was a host of fair weather friends. And we're kind of talking about, like, I have probably two friends. And my dad always told me, he's like, in your lifetime, you can count on both hands how many, like, true blue friends you have in your life. And I didn't believe him because I kind of thought I was social butterfly and I put myself out there, but I'm actually like an introverted extrovert. Like, I don't have a lot of like close friends. Like, I can count on both hands how many people are super close in my life today. And so
Dad was right.
Dad was right, and always is. But I love that quote where it says, "Create your own future," and I get to create a future in recovery with people who aren't scared to hold me accountable, but also lift you up. Yeah.
Talk about those fair weather friends a little bit.
Oh, the fair weather friends. Well, I mean, they're always like, "I got your back," and till death. That was kind of the life you lived till death.
Yeah.
I remember getting locked up several times, and out of all of those till death friends, one person wrote me when I went to jail, and we're still close friends to this day. He's one of those ones on my hand that I can count. Yeah. I can definitely count on him, good and bad.
That's great to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't count on any of those friends in my past life where I could count on them at all. I could count on them to take my stuff when I went to jail. But they never once wanted to know how I was doing and what I was doing or anything like that. Today, I have people in my life that have my best interests in mind and my family's best interests in mind, and that's a total swap, being in recovery and not being in recovery.
Well, I thought about, when we first started talking about this one in the warm up, Yes, we do a warm up. We do like a pre-podcast podcast. I mentors played a huge role in my life, and I when I was younger and when I was not well, I didn't recognize that's what they were. I mean, there were these people in my life that were helping me, and I didn't really, and as I got older and got into recovery, then I began looking back. It's like, oh man, I had lots of mentors, who just, took me under their wing or sort of guided me. And man, I mean, I don't know where my life would be without those people and just the things they did. Yeah, I mean, there was no like till death, like Ashley's thing, There are people that just sort of
I'm your friend till death
appear in your life. Yeah, just sort of appear, and then they, and even despite the fact that I didn't recognize, one, I was sick, or two, that they were mentoring me. They really did play a crucial role in sort of shaping me. I mean, it's certainly better than the friends you drank with or,
right.
hung out with who, I mean, I think I even shared this on, I might even share this on another podcast, I mean, I had one friend, and he was like, yeah, he's like, after I came out, like I had a diagnosis and all that stuff. He's like, yeah, we always knew there was something wrong with you. And like nobody said anything, like nobody.
Well, I think that goes back to kind of what I was saying is like having those people in your life who are unafraid to tell you how they see it, right?
Yeah.
I need that in my life. I need those kind of people in my life who are unafraid to tell me, how they're experiencing me, because sometimes I'm a little intense. Yeah.
It's super important for that, because I can remember in my early recovery, I'd be doing a few things right that I hadn't been doing for a really, really long time. And of course my ego gets in the way and I think I'm about something, and to have people that are willing to go, Bill, you're doing this right for the first time in your life, and that's great. However, here's some more things that we need to work on. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Don't you know who I am?
No complacency here.
Even when I thought I was doing good, it's good to have people in your life that are gonna hold you accountable to some principles that go beyond where you might even be at that time. And so, super important. And thankfully, I was willing to listen, and that's important to be able to do as well. Is when you find people that are good people that are going to hold you accountable, is to allow yourself to listen to them, because that was a really, really hard one for me to do, was to allow these people to have influence in my life that I knew were good people, that I knew had my best interests in mind, and to fight that resistance that's just naturally built into me to, you don't know what you're talking about, I run my own life, I've made it this far, I'm, wherever I was in my recovery journey, I've made it this far, I'm doing good, and being able to listen and stay humble and stay teachable is important. And having those key people in your life so that they can be like little red flags for you. If this person says you're in the red zone, or you need to really think about what you're doing, that's an automatic red flag to stop and pause and take in what they're trying to let you know, so that you can make an adjustment before things get too out of hand.
Yeah. And I think, if we're talking about like why is it important to have those people there in the bad days, not just the good? Like, I think about my husband, and my husband, like, over the years, right, he's been super supportive. He was actually a catalyst to me getting into recovery, but super supportive. And like now he's like, when's the last time you've been to a support group? And maybe you should go. And you're being different. You need to get to a support group. And like he holds me accountable because he knows like what's at stake, right? He knows what's at stake for me when I get there on those bad days. So that's cool. It's really cool. My mom too. My mom does the same thing. Did you go to a meeting this week?
Because your attitude sucks.
It's kind of showing.
And how do you think it changes over time? So as you're in recovery longer and longer, how do you think that changes? The relationships change? I mean, for me, the people change.
Yes.
Right.
No, I think for me, the change is like I get to be that for people, right? Like I get to be that. That's, I think, how it's changed is like, yes, I still have these key people in my life who I know, but now I get to be what I needed, right? What I needed in my life.
Recovery comes full circle sometimes. I know for me, the one definite thing that has changed relational for me that I added into my life, just a few years ago was the spiritual aspect, and chose to get involved with church simply because I went so far spiritually in the 12-step program that I was in, and then I kind of plateaued. And so I wanted to keep feeding that part and hold myself a little more accountable than what I was being held. And so I had to go a different route, which then in turn, then I get to do what Ashley's saying, and I get to give that back to the 12-step group spiritually.
You think you would have had the spiritual journey part if you weren't in recovery?
Well, I'd be spiritually bankrupt and dead, or spiritually totally opposite of where I am now, which would be more likely the case. And so that doesn't look pretty, and it's not a good thing for me to think about. I am grateful that I found recovery, that I'm in recovery, and I can affect people spiritually in a positive way, rather than in a negative way in which I was already affecting people.
Yeah. The reason I ask is I think about that a lot in my own recovery. That, I mean, if I wasn't in recovery, I wouldn't be the director of MPN, obviously. There's a big one, right? Wouldn't have, the opportunity to be a peer supporter, but even goes further, like I wouldn't have moved from Chicago to Montana.
Right.
I mean, it goes much bigger than that.
And that shifts your whole trajectory of those people in your life, right?
Yes.
Those peers and allies in your life.
Yeah, because it's just a whole different group of people.
Absolutely.
And there's no environmental attachment to the old group, right?
Yes.
Because you're so far away. Bill, you moved here from another state.
Right?
Yep. Here from another state. Right?
Absolutely. And I've said that. I said, I don't know how, because I feel like my journey into recovery this time, because I had tried it several times, but I did it in my hometown, right? And it was a pull, and it was like a pull to those negative people, right? Those fair weather friends. And I don't know if I would have stayed home and tried to get clean and sober, if I would have been able to, right? I think about that often, because everybody here was just, I gave them only bits and pieces to get my way, right, in the world. I never gave all of me. And the people where I lived, where I grew up, they knew me from childhood,
I can remember that when I moved to Montana, I was 5 years into recovery, and so my first 5 years of recovery were in the town that was at the tail end of my disease. All I had to do was say no a couple of times, and they were nowhere to be found. Not that I wouldn't have been able to find them, but because I was not interested in that at the time, and I was moving in a different direction, they were gone. They didn't call. They didn't write me a letter.
They didn't go, where's Bill?
No, Bill wasn't there to do whatever it is that they needed me to do to satisfy them. And so it's pretty sad when you look back on it, at least for me, who I surrounded myself with and who I intentionally surrounded myself with. And it's no different in recovery. I intentionally surround myself with people that I know that are in recovery and moving forward in their life.
Yeah.
Because that's where I'll go as well. And so those relations are super important just for the direction of your life. I pick wisely and carefully.
Yeah.
And people think that the word judgmental is bad, but judgment and being judgmental can save your life as well.
Absolutely.
On who you choose to associate with and why, right?
Absolutely. I know that saying, your vibe is your tribe, right? Or your tribe is your vibe. Like, you are who you surround yourself with. You do. You tend to take on those characteristics, whether you think you are or you aren't. Like, I think I just adapt sometimes. And if I'm around super negative people, I shift that way, right? Like, and it's kind of like this subconscious shift. I don't even know what's happening, and it happens for me. I remember kind of a mentor in my life, and she sat me down and she said, just because everybody's in recovery doesn't mean they're good for you. And I was like, what? She's like, think of it like this. Some people have a cough. You know they're going to get over that cough, right? Just like a seasonal cough, cold, right? They got a little sniffles, are a little bit sick. But then there's some people that come into recovery who have Ebola. And you need to suit up and stay away, right? And she said that is, that's just like life, right? It's no different in recovery circles, too. Yeah. And so I completely agree with you. Like, I do have to use some judgment. Like, they told me to stick with the winners. And it's like, well, I have to judge who's a loser and who's a winner, right?
Pick your friends wisely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. So that was pretty good. That was good discussion.
It was.
Yeah. It's another one we want to read. Most healthy relationships don't happen overnight. They take time to develop. Be kind to yourself. There will be trial and error in developing some of these relationships. They are invaluable to the foundation of your recovery. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode, Recovery Talks Podcast, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to another one of our Recovery Month 2020 podcasts. Remember, we're giving away some wonderful prizes during this Recovery Month. If you'd like to enter, the code for this podcast is POD907. Again, that's P as in Peter, O, D as in dog, 907. Thanks for listening and good luck.
Recovery works and recovery is possible.
Recovery works and recovery is possible.
Recovery works, recovery is possible.
Recovery is possible.
Recovery works and recovery is possible.
Recovery works and recovery is possible.
Recovery works and recovery is possible.
Recovery is possible.